Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to Draft Day Sports College Basketball, and this is episode 21. Going back to season number 1 for a moment, just because a team has low prestige does not mean that the team is necessarily awful. Here's what I mean by that statement. You could finish dead last in a good conference year after year after year after year after year after year and have very low prestige. But because you play in a good conference, even though you are the worst team in that conference, thus the low prestige, you're still in a good conference. You're still going to recruit players that are actually quite a bit better than players of really small conference. And so prestige can be a little bit of a funny thing in how that works when you make that in real life comparison, that IRL comparison. I think we saw a little bit of that season 1. Conference V had some quality teams in it that did okay. We were a semi-competent, somewhat okay team, and we just missed mid-table. Now, within a handful of years, things are going to start to reshape, right? Those teams are going to rise rapidly. Other teams are going to fall rapidly. The teams that have somewhat higher prestige but really aren't good, right? They're going to drop down the order. Well, anyway, point being, I think this year's Conference V is more representative of what Conference V is expected to be than the Season 1 Conference V that we played in. That's not to say that it's impossible for there to be good teams here, because it looks like we have 2 good teams here in Conference V this year, ourselves being one of them. And it's absolutely possible for a low prestige team to recruit well and therefore get better and climb the ladder. That part's inevitable because there is promotion and relegation. Somebody has to rise, somebody has to fall. But the more you play, the further you kind of get down that rabbit hole, the more likely the cream's going to rise to the top, etc., blah, 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 right? Point being, we have some easier opponents in this year's Conference V than there was in the Season 1 Conference V, where there was some holdover, where there was some leftover, where there was some schools that could recruit based on conference prestige, even though they didn't have team prestige. Those guys then kind of fell to the wayside eventually because they were playing Conference V or Conference S, or whatever conference they're in. They no longer have that conference prestige boost that some of the others might have had in real life. So they might have taken an initial climb by a couple divisions and had some decent players, but unable to replace those players. So tactically, for us, the know-how, the ability, the development of myself as coach, all of that's going to hopefully get us going on a run that's going to see us climb season after season after season for quite a while, for most seasons over a stretch, because my capabilities as a recruiter, despite the limitations, is going to be better than a lot of these teams for the next number of divisions. And I have a feeling we're going to fly through Conference V this season. Looking at the schedule is kind of where I'm getting this feeling from. There's bound to be a challenge. St. George, perfect at home, even though they're only 6-6 overall. And Southeast Missouri State, 3-1 at home. Those two, that could be a challenge. But these ones are looking very, very winnable. Massachusetts Lowell might give us a little bit of a challenge. Delaware State 2-10, 2-3 at home. Probably not a big challenge, but maybe. And then Mississippi Valley State. 9-3 overall, but we are at home. They're 3-3 on the road, but they are perfect 6-0 at home. But we get them at our home, which is going to give us a pretty significant advantage. I wouldn't say we're going to go undefeated in Conference V, but I have a feeling, we're one game in right now, but I have a feeling that after 16 conference games, we're going to be at the top or top 2 or 3 at the very least. I think we are cruising this season through Conference V. Now, this Mississippi Valley State is the most intriguing game. It's the best opponent that we're going to be going up against, even though we are fortunate enough to get them at home. So that's the one we're going to play live. So let's go ahead and get through the next 4 games and see where we're at entering that Mississippi Valley State game. Based on the records, I wouldn't be too surprised, especially with 3 out of those 4 at home. Wouldn't be too surprised if we were 5-0 in conference when we enter this game. But I also wouldn't be too surprised if we lose 1 along the way. 6th conference game of the season is now underway. We are a perfect 5-0 so far, but of course we did have 3 home games already in that stretch, and so that certainly helped us along there. But surprisingly, as we have a very early lead in this one, the offense is rolling early on, making a lot of shots, and defensively making life difficult on Mississippi Valley State. They have not had a great start to the conference schedule. They might have had a really good record entering conference play, but since conference play started, and again, that home away part of your schedule makes such a difference in who you're actually playing, though this game has gotten a lot tighter here after a slow start from Mississippi Valley State, but we increase our lead here once again after we had slowed down somewhat, but we make our last couple buckets and we're back out to a 5-point lead. Anyway, they are perfect at home, 3-0, but in conference they have yet to win on the road, so they've lost both road games. They are on the road today. Let's see if we can keep up that stretch. That would make them just 3-3 in the conference and very much just mid-table. Unexpected run for them. I have a feeling that we're not gonna lose more than maybe 3 games in conference this season. Is kind of what I'm aiming for at this point, based on how we are looking. But our offense has cooled off significantly here. We only made 1 out of 2 free throws on that last one, but we do quickly turn it into a fast break bucket and then score again on the next possession and get ourselves back into the lead. But there are some signs of the offense struggling at times here today and allowing little runs from them that are probably otherwise avoidable. Darius Q off to a fantastic start here. 14 points on 6 of 7 shooting. He's already got a steal. He's already got a few rebounds. He's already added in an assist as well. He has been huge for us all season long. Definitely the team MVP, but here in conference play, even better. Maybe the weaker opposition, weaker defenses that we're facing here in conference is allowing him to really shine. He's already added his 4th rebound now before he heads to the bench to get a rest. Samuels, slow start, but I really, really like how Samuels, now that there's some guys around him that have higher ratings when it comes to taking that shot, Samuels has been less selfish with the ball this season. And as a result, he's 1 for 1, just scored on that last play in close with a little 1-2 with McIntyre, and gets the easy look inside for either a dunk or at least close range play, and we're up by 10 now. Get to the free throw line, get 1 more, but then get the offensive rebound on the miss, get a chance for additional points, and it's 36-23. Great drive, 38-23. We're turning it on in droves. We're picking up a heck of a run right here. And the thing about our defense is we allowed a couple little runs from Mississippi Valley State, which took our small lead and made it into a very tiny deficit. I mean, we trailed by about 2 points, but our defense has enough quality to avoid the big runs, which were a constant theme of the first few seasons. Now, they ended our momentum by getting a score, and they get to the foul line. not once but twice on that possession, and yet they're still not able to generate the momentum they need. Three-pointer there helps end our momentum, but we are good enough to get scores and not go too long without scoring, even when the other team has a little bit of momentum built up. But our defense does enough to really shut down those long runs, and that's what's making a difference, and what we are winning most of our games right now. Out of the 5 conference games so far, only 1 has been close. We've blown out the opposition in 4 out of 5 games. I'm not saying that we're going to go undefeated in the conference this season. Very much not the case. In fact, like I said, Mississippi Valley State right now is actually only mid-table for the conference. Halftime, 44-33, 11-point advantage. It's comfortable, but we're not running away with it. Q, though, keeping up the momentum, and look at that, plus 19 for him. Archie, Calacatronis, Geyer, great combination there when they came in. That's where we really made that big run. And my guess, a lot of that had to do with the fact that we still had Q on the court, along with a good bench team, guys that are good enough to start, and you're getting a group here that doesn't have the depth. Their starters +1 together on the court. They're hanging with us. Their bench getting pummeled by us. Even though they were only on the court for 6 or 8 minutes, those guys can't hang with our bench. The added depth we have this season making a huge difference. Darius Q making a huge difference. It's 26-6 on points in the paint, something we've been on the exact opposite of so many times in our first handful of seasons. Now we're starting to run away with it. 12-2 on fast break points as well. Great first half. Let's see if we can carry on into the second half. It's only an 11-point advantage. This game is far from done, at least at this stage. One thing that I absolutely love about the progress we've made as a team is that foul trouble has not been much of a concern. We do have some fouls. I mean, Dyer's had a couple fouls. Q's had a couple fouls. We're not completely without that, but we have defensive intensity up. We play an aggressive defense. You are going to commit more fouls playing an aggressive defense, but we're managing to stay out of foul trouble because we have a higher quality defender than what we had before. That is the big difference this season. Yes, we have Darius Q, who is just a stud of a player for our level, but he's not doing this every game. He's not getting 25 every game. It's not just the Darius Q show. He has teammate. And the biggest difference is that our defense has gone to a whole new level. It went from just across the board weak to across the board bad, but ever so slightly better, from awful to bad basically. But now it's still not, we don't have a fantastic defense. This is not a defense that's going to go and win championships, except in Conference V. It's good enough for this level. It's not good enough for higher levels, but it's a heck of a start, and it's making a big difference on how we perform. And I'm going to continue to recruit this way, and we're just going to find a better caliber player as we go on, as we climb higher, as we get better, as we recruit better. All of that's going to play into our hand. But what I've wanted to build is finally coming to fruition, and our climb up the ladder is, I think it's going to be rapid for a little while at least. Q back into the game, still on 25 points, 10 minutes to play, 23-point advantage over Mississippi Valley State right now. We are blowing them out here early in the second half as we continue to score, and they are really struggling to get any sort of open look. And then because of quality rebounding, they're not getting second chances. Defense, that was good that time. They've actually got themselves a little bit of momentum from one defensive stop. 2 defensive stops now. We got in close. It was a good look getting in close like that, but we couldn't convert, and they continue to carry on a little bit of momentum. But our defense, even with their momentum, our defense is making life really difficult on them. Offensively, they've picked up some momentum, but defensively, their defense has picked up some momentum, but not their offense. Our defense continues to make life just really difficult on them. We have not scored for a while here. I think I actually want to use a timeout. Let's talk about it. We get to the free throw line immediately after that. We have not scored much for a while, but we did end their momentum. I should have used that timeout a little while ago, because then we turn around and score again. 75-52, 23-point advantage. This game's all about one. Have we gone into garbage time yet? No, not yet, but Darius Q, 35 points, 15 of 18 shooting. That's the amazing part here. He's one rebound away from a double-double. I'd love to see him get that before heading to the bench with 3:20 to play. Give garbage time to the last couple guys. He needs to get one more rebound. 35 is huge for a college game. That's a lot of points. Samuels gets to the 10th rebound. And he's out. Q heads to the bench. Babel is in. That's fine. That is okay. I like the team performance more than I like the individual stat packing. We don't need to overcommit to that. We just need to get the job done, take the win. So 80-54, happy with that. Really happy with that. Big blowout today. 29-point victory. Well done to the team. Archie adds 13 points on 5 of 6 shooting. Really, really strong individual performances. We out-rebounded them. We had significantly fewer turnovers. We shot the ball so much better. 53% to 33%. They shot the ball well from 3, though. That helped keep them in the game a little bit. Well, Daytona Beach just took their first loss on the same day that we just played Mississippi Valley State. So we, at 6-0, now lead the conference. But there's still 3 teams just a game behind. There's still another team just a couple games behind. So there are absolutely still, at the very least, 4 teams in this. And I'd say that, Alabama A&M, Southeast Missouri State, Mississippi Valley State at 3-3 still have a chance of turning it around. It's early yet. There's 10 more conference games to play. Now, I figure at worst we'll be 13-3. I figure we can win 7 out of 10 the rest of the way if we've won 6 out of 6 thus far. If we won 14 out of 17 on the season as a whole, considering we've played some good teams and there aren't quite the equivalents here. But I have not played any of these 3 at this point. None of those losses that they have come from us. I haven't played Maryland Eastern Shore either. So those next 4 teams are all opponents that I have not gone up against yet. I also have not played any of the 2 and 4 teams except for maybe North Alabama. Well, no, I guess I would have had to. Mostly I've played these guys and 1 or 2 of these ones here. So we haven't played the bottom end teams, but we also haven't played the top end teams. We have some easy wins ahead of us. We have some games ahead of us. We've played 4 home games and 2 away games so far in the conference. So that's going to help. That's going to balance itself out. I'm not saying we're going to have a perfect season here, is the point I'm trying to make. I think we are in for at least a loss or 2, if not 3, the rest of the way. But let's go ahead and push forward. Wait for it. We are one day away, the end of this week, from locking in the SAT scores. If you forgot, John Brownlee is our only commit so far this season, and I have now exhausted our budget. We have nothing left in terms of budget, so I'm really not going to be able to get after anybody else beside him. John Brownlee, not a good inside scorer, but overall quality player with good defense. It's hovered between a B and a B minus throughout this season as we've been watching him, and He looks like he's going to be a pretty solid player, a good addition, but he's got a 1.8 high school GPA, which does not translate well to having the required SAT score to qualify to enter college, to enter our college. So he has got a minimum standard. Let's see if he actually meets that minimum standard or not. We'll find out tomorrow. If not, he's simply gone. He'll have to go to community college and pick up his grades to then qualify for university. Coach, I'm sorry to inform you that while John Brownlee has met the minimum test score to qualify to play college basketball, he has not met the minimum score we require to attend our school. We have revoked his scholarship for you. Good luck in finding a replacement. Okay, so this is a zero recruit year, unfortunately. We are going to have to get everything through the transfer portal. It's okay. Transfer portal's a good place for us. Brownlee was not a Darius Q, but he'll be missed. He will be missed. Let's see how far off was he. He was pretty far off. 820 was his score. The required score was an 880. So he was 60 points below. That's a ways off. For comparison, I scored higher than that as a 12 or 13-year-old taking the SATs. I was in a high percentile for math, one of the highest in the state, and following a standardized state test that I scored ridiculously high in. There was one of those fun letters from the government that not too many people get that encouraged me to take the SATs. They were kind of seeing if I needed to be put on some sort of fast track. Turns out that I was not a genius, but I still scored really well. My sister was 4 years older, took the SATs the same day, and her math section, which was where my high score had come from, her math score was only 10 points higher, and there were levels of math covered in the SATs that I had never even been introduced to as of yet, and she certainly had, and we were within 10 points of each other. I reminded her of that for many, many, many years. Upon going to college, I did score significantly higher than this, even though I went to the Army and spent 3 years there and had an additional year, so 4 years post high school before I went and took the SATs to head to college, and still scored much higher than Mr. John Brownlee, who has been active in school for the last 12 years of his life, 13 counting kindergarten. He should be at his peak mental performance at the moment. Very much not. Anyway, he's out. Disappointing for us, and with just $660 left in the team budget, there's literally very little that we could potentially do, because almost all of the recruits we have are from Washington, where it costs us a little bit more to see them, all the guys that remain. So Jason Wilcott's just about the only chance we have left. It's fairly cheap to get after him, and he is one of the ones that we have an offer in on. So we might have to kind of go all in on a Jason Walcott for our only other chance at getting a recruit this season in this method. But that's okay. Like I said, the transfer portal is a good place for us, and our skill will continue to develop. I think it might not develop quite as much this year, though, as we are fairly inactive in recruiting for a huge chunk of this season, as we have run ourselves out of cash. But I'm still happy that we have a team that's winning a lot more and progressing. It's just we've slowed progression a little bit. But hey, if we have a winning team this year, maybe I can get an increased budget out of the school board. Push forward a little bit, and we are 10 games now into the conference schedule. We have 6 remaining. Massachusetts Lowell have just given us our first loss. I'm pretty sure it was a road game. Well, anyway, our net remains very high even after that. 9-1 in conference, now 2 games clear of the chasing trio which has only changed slightly as Longwood has fallen off. But, there's still 6 good teams here. I mean, this is, in terms of the balancing, there's definitely a balancing act of there are some better teams in the conference. There are some teams not as good in the conference. Everybody's getting at least a couple wins. A lot of that comes with, playing at home. I mean, these guys are winless or close to winless on the road. But then their home record gets progressively better the higher you go. Maryland Eastern Shore, great example of a team that has 10 wins on the season, 10 and 11 overall, 5 at home, 5 away, but they're 5-1 at home. They're 5-10 away. So this is a team that's absolutely better than their record suggests. They just haven't played at home very often, similar to what happened with us last year, where we had a worse record than the season before, but we were clearly a better team. And that was almost primarily because we went from a balanced schedule to a schedule that was almost entirely on the road. And we were only 1 game worse off with almost all road games. And if you haven't figured it out by now, there is a definite home advantage. And there's that, here's that real difference. These are teams that have played mostly at home, nowhere near as much on the road. They have not been that good on the road. We have been 9-3 on the road. We are definitely a good team. Darius Q leading the way for us this season, 12.5 points a game. Nobody else in double digits, but it's fairly balanced behind that. Robinson, 8. Calicatronis scoring really well, 47% from the field as well. We've increased his minutes, and even then, it's only getting him so high on that department. His assists have been good. It's hard to say whether we need to make the change to make him the starter or not here the rest of the way, but Geyer is that next leading scorer, so our bench does have some good scores. Samuel's getting 7.5 a game. Wade Dyer's getting 7.5 a game, barely behind Calicatronis, so very balanced, and they are getting almost identical minutes. He has improved. He's at 40% now, so it's not in the 30s like it was. But Calicatronis is definitely the better shooter, and Wade Dyer runs the offense better. He's getting almost double the assists of Calicatronis. But he also doubles them up on turnovers. So there's some give and take there. I'm liking having them fairly balanced. McIntyre not scoring a lot in his 21 minutes a game, but he does his part. Rebounds are definitely down this year. The player impact estimate is one of those things that I like to check in on because the box scores themselves only show you part of the picture and they really don't reveal too much. McIntyre, the only one who is upset other than Samuels, but both are seniors, so I don't think we're facing too many dangers at the moment of guys possibly wanting to leave during the off season, so that's good. Robinson, we might want to say hello and you're doing a good job, as he's Wade Dyer 8.27. Brent Gross doing a little bit more. Damon Robinson, Darius Q, huge impact, as is Wesley Samuels. Those guys have been doing fantastic. McIntyre doing fairly good. He's our 6th man, and Kenyon Geyer at 8.27. But Calicatronis not showing up on that. I would imagine he's not far behind it as that next player, but figure he's got to be under 8 at the very least, and that means Wade Dyer is actually having a slightly larger impact on things. Even though he is our 3rd leading scorer, he's only contributing so much. We've gone forward 3 more games. We are 12-1, so still just the single loss. Daytona Beach is now in sole possession of 2nd place at 10-3, 2 games behind. There are 3 games left to play, so we are now guaranteed a top 4, which means we are guaranteed promotion. We will get straight out of Conference V and climb up the ladder. We've also just achieved our very first ever 20-win season. That's one of those big landmarks. You want 20 wins per season or more, and we've done it now for the first time. So still 3 more games to play. We're going to quickly play those. And then, of course, we're going to have our conference tournament. If we win that, which it looks like will be the favorite, if we win that, then we will have our first ever NCAA tournament bid. Losing that, even though our net is fairly high, that very well could be the end of the season. Despite being 20-4 right now, we're not ranked, and that's for good reason. We are a team with no prestige playing in Conference V, and a lot of these victories come because we are playing against really, really weak opposition. We're still not that good of a team. We're just better than those teams around us. So we're only so good right now. We're only so good. And yeah, we still have a lot to prove to be worthy of anything. We get to the NCAA tournament, we're going to get blown out immediately. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we are a 16 seed in that tournament. If we even get there, we still need to get through our teams. We haven't been perfect here. We have taken that one loss, so it's entirely possible. But neutral territory for conference tournament gives us a fairly strong advantage where we should do pretty well with that. But let's go ahead and play the last 3 games here of the conference schedule and see if we hang on. If we win 2 out of 3, obviously that is enough to have the regular season title anyway for the conference. Final home game of the regular season is a victory. We have 2 more road games left. Penultimate game is a loss, so we still need to get at least that one more, unless we've gotten some help, and I have no idea how the other teams have come along, so we do need at least one more win. It won't be necessary. Daytona Beach has lost a game, so we will have the regular season title. I was saying that we might end up 13-3. Looks like we have a chance of going 14-2, but we still definitely have that chance of going 13-3. So my prediction has been fairly accurate on that one. One more game, one more on the road against St. George, who are 7-8, and they're 10-2 at home. They've been pretty dang good at home. They just can't win on the road, but they are at home for this one. We blew them out when they came to our home earlier. We are certainly capable of winning on the road, though. Let's see if we can get one more. 73-63 road victory. We have done it. 22-5 is how we wrap up this regular season. That is 14-2 in conference. Fantastic year that we have had here. But we still have a conference tournament to play, and hopefully, if we can win that one, our first ever NCAA tournament bid. Not a guarantee. Now, I believe the way the promotion system is set up, or at least it was set up in the past, and it was a good system, so hopefully they haven't changed it, is the top 3 teams are guaranteed promotion in the league. Your conference tournament winner is the 4th promotion spot. Now, if it's one of the top 3, it then goes to whoever was 4th in the league. So that's how the promotion spots work. As one of the top 3, we are guaranteed promotion even if we lose the first game of the conference tournament, which we will not play in because as one of the top 4 teams, we have an automatic first round bye. And then we'll get actually the middle end of this, I guess what would that be, 8-9 matchup. So the way the conference tournament works as we go to wrap this episode up, top 4 teams get a bye in the first round, and then you have the next 4 playing at home against the bottom 4. So we would have the winner of the Alabama A&M and Prairie View in the second round. At least that's how it should work. Bottom 4 do not make the tournament and are relegated. So the 4 relegated teams heading to the independents are these 4 guys. These ones are in the tournament. These are your first round buys, and then it's single elimination from there. So we play the winner of this one. The winner then goes to play on, the winner of that matchup, if assuming Southeast Missouri State beats Alamo Heights. so on and so forth. But that is the regular season in the books. Time for some tournament play for the very first time. First winning season. Let's see how we can do in our first postseason. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.